This guy's supposed to be a defensive guru. I heard everything, and I take it personal on this one. Everything I heard about was, well, this guy's a lot like myself, but without the bad part. Yeah, well, some of the bad part you need. And don't ever compare this guy to me, this Robert Saleh to me, because statistically, one time they were like a top defense. All right? Here's one thing they're going to be familiar with. 4 out of 5 years, the 49ers were dead last in their division. So he's going to be dead last again. So he's used to that. So to me, I'm a little pissed off about it when I hear that this guy, his background's a lot like yours. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Quit trying to tell the New York fan base that he's going to be like me as a defensive-minded guy or whatever.
Honestly, you know what? I've never met Rex. I've never had a conversation with Rex. I don't even know him except for people who know him throughout the league. So obviously, if it's that personal for him, he knows where to find me. So
were you surprised that he said it?
I'm not surprised by him. He's always got something to say.
Oh, yeah. Oh, baby. I love a good fight that doesn't involve me. Rex Ryan versus Robert Saleh. I was surprised. And, what happened was, Shireen, I was going to write something about how Joe Douglas, as GM of the Jets, really hasn't done much. And at what point is he on the hot seat? Because that roster is indeed a hot mess. And then I tripped over on SNY an item about the Rex Ryan comments. And I thought, we got a new headline. Because very strong comments from Rex Ryan, who I think would still very much like to coach the Jets. And frankly, when Woody Johnson came back to run the team back in January, I kind of hoped for Rex to be rehired to coach the Jets. Wouldn't that be awesome? So there's probably some jealousy, some resentment, this notion that I never really got a fair chance and I'm a better coach than this guy, and don't compare this guy to me. Then again, I haven't seen anybody compare Robert Saleh and Rex Ryan. I had Josh Alper, who works with us at PFT, is a Jets aficionado, and he hadn't heard about any such comparison. But I love it. I hope it continues, because it's really the only thing right now that is even remotely interesting about the Jets, given that the Mike White era mercifully has ended.
Yeah, it lasted one game, Mike. That it didn't last long at all. But yeah, this is great, and it's why you love Rex Ryan. It's why he's good on TV, because he has outlandish opinions. He's not afraid to say what's on his mind, and he truly believes what he just said. And I'll say this: he wasn't good as the Jets head coach, 46-50 in his career as the head coach there. But he always produced really good defenses. I think the worst defense he had was 11th in yards. So he was really good on the defensive side of the ball. But I'm with you. Joe Douglas needs to be under fire with the talent that has been on this roster and is on this roster now. And I realize they've lost Carl Lawson. They don't have Marcus May. They don't have LaMarcus Joyner. I get all that. They've had some injuries. Every team has injuries. They have no depth on this team, and they really have no really big stars. They have a handful of guys, if you held a draft today, that would be top picks in the draft. They just don't have that many stars on this team. So I think Joe Douglas should be in trouble. Robert Saleh is going to get his chance to prove Rex Ryan wrong. But it's great right now, Mike. We're talking about it, and it's the only reason to talk about the Jets, as you said.
Yeah, and the other thing to talk about as it relates to the Jets is when will major changes be made. And I'm not a big fan of the half measure. I am not a big fan of firing Joe Douglas and keeping Robert Saleh. Keep them both or fire them both. And it would not be the first time that a coach is fired after 1 year. In fact, every time it happens and people say, I can't believe they fired a guy after 1 year, we've got a post that gets updated every time it happens to add the latest name to the list of guys who are one and done. It is not unheard of for a guy to be one and done. It is far more common than you think. And I'm not saying fire Robert Saleh. All I'm saying is keep them both or get rid of them both. Don't do this revolving door where you have mismatched parts, because the next GM, if there is one, is not going to want Robert Saleh to be the coach. That person, when they finally ascend to the throne of GM after all these years of work and effort, they have a list of names of people that they want to consider as their coach when they finally get that team they've been coveting all these years. That's just how it works. So keep them both or fire them both. But in the meantime, let's enjoy Rex Ryan versus Robert Saleh. Shireen, I mean, am I missing something, though? because here's the thing. Adam Gase can blame Mike Maccagnan. And then Joe Douglas can blame Adam Gase. And now Robert Saleh can blame Joe Douglas. And then the next GM can blame Robert Saleh. And then the next coach can blame the next GM. It's like row, row, row your boat, Pro Football Edition. At some point, and they did this with Idzik and Ryan. They got rid of both of them at the same time. At some point, you just have to hit the reset button and start over.
Yeah, exactly, Mike. And, you know, the other place that could happen, obviously, is in Houston with David Culley. We had 2 minority coaches, I think, that were hired in the last hiring cycle, and both could be gone after 1 year based on what their teams are doing right now. So, unfortunate for Robert Saleh, but if he wants to stay, he better figure out a way to win some more games and show some promise going forward, or both of these guys could be out the door. And it is not as uncommon as people think to be one and done. They figure out quickly sometimes that this isn't the guy we wanted, this isn't the guy that we thought was going to be the guy, especially when it's an assistant coach coming in. Sometimes an assistant coach just isn't going to be a good head coach, and you can figure that out pretty quickly. So not going to surprise me at all if Robert Saleh and David Culley are the 2 guys who are one and done after this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And there will be another guy that's one and done eventually, and then another, and then another. And at some point, we're just not going to be surprised by.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.